Hello and happy October. I have been led to kind of get a little creepy. I mean, because if you can't use your gifts for fun things, then what's the point, right? It's October and my guides are like, let's discuss the dark arts. Um, we're going to be getting a little spooky. This usually isn't my forte, but I'm going to be sharing a personal story and kind of diving into the dark side. Okay, so if you're still here, I think I want to start with a personal story. I personally I don't know that I truly believed in magic or its effects that it can have on people until I had magic done on me. And we use the term black magic simply because there's magic that can be used for good. That's light, like for healing, for beneficial reasons that benefits humanity, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the black magic that's not necessarily respecting free will, that we can, usually it's done on like people to get things or for nefarious reasons, right? So that's just kind of how we label it. It's like Glenda the Good Witch and then the Wicked Witch of the West. like, you could kind of look at it like that. And so I never really knew the difference or thought about it too much until literally basically I was scammed. I had a group of like 9 people, and this is when I was starting to come into my gifts, and it was very confusing for me. I could feel them doing magic on me, and they would like take turns and in rounds. And I don't want to get into too many specifics about it, but I feel like this is like, do not trust anything online unless you are FaceTiming with a person, speaking to them directly or in person. I just do not suggest trusting anything online right now. This time we live in, there's so much scamming and there's so much. It's not good. And they use this black magic and this influence, and they'll do all the things. Like someone will be in charge of like combing your social media. And so they'll know what works on you and what doesn't because they'll have like a file on you. Like basically it's a group of people. Like this is their job to scam people. Okay. Firmly believe this. And I want to say that I was at a vulnerable time in my life, going through a transition, going through lots of personal things, lots of growth emotionally. And it was a very confusing time because I was starting to come into my gifts and try to understand them more. It was getting interfered with. But I think that's why it also worked really good on me, is because I was so sensitive to the magic, if you want to say that. These people used black magic, and it I don't know how else to describe it, except have you ever seen or been to one of those shows where a hypnotist hypnotizes like a group of people, and he makes them like bark like a dog or do silly things, right? And then when they kind of come out of it, they're like, um, it was like that. I couldn't really control what was happening to me. And I kind of knew what was going on, but I didn't really have the like wherewithal to be like, I'm not going to do this. Kind of scary. But this is when I started diving deeper into the dark arts to try and rid myself of this and escape from it, without too much damage. So that was my experience with it. And this is when I started looking for answers and going to different people outside of myself because I had no idea what was going on until it was a little too late. But then I started coming into my own gifts. And one of the things about, people say, oh, black magic. And yes, it's a real thing. It can really damage your life. But once you learn how to transmute it, you can actually use that power because it's energy, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred or transmuted. So all that energy they put into doing this thing to me, I learned how to use and wield for my own growth, for my own power, for my own magic in a positive way, right? So that's the one good thing that can come out of it. But yeah, I want to say, the online stuff, they have ways, and I still don't know too much about it because I'm not a spell person. I mean, the closest I get to a spell is like for manifesting and maybe using the elements and things like that. And no, I don't manifest like people because that's just, again, free will. You can manifest abundance in all forms, love in all forms, things like that, peace on earth, etc. But as far as that stuff goes, yeah, I was completely clueless how it worked. But going back to the transmuting part, once you learn how to do that, it's kind of like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I mean, I could say pretty much daily I get black magic thrown at me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, thanks, because now I know how to transmute it. So it can benefit you because it's just like people giving you free energy, right? So the next part I wanted to talk about, well, I've had lots of spiritual experiences, and that was starting around then because basically it was like there were non-beneficial psychic cores. Some people call them roots. Some people call it hoodoo, voodoo, all kinds of. There's all different labels for black magic and specific kinds. I don't want to dive too far into the dark arts because it's not really my forte, like I said. But to be aware of it, to be aware it exists, to be aware of its power is always a good thing. And the only way that stuff can ever affect you negatively is if you let it. So all the more reason to heal your wounds. Heal. So when that stuff does come at you, it doesn't affect you. That's the beauty of it. So, this next part I wanted to talk about was healing this witch wound. We use the word witch, and it sounds like such a bad thing because of the Salem witch trials, and we burned witches at the stake and things like that. And really, you can look at it as a woman in total control of herself. They spoke to the trees. They spoke to nature. They used the elements. They were just women who were more in tune with nature, with Mother Earth. They recognized the soul, the spirit within every living thing. So when you're able to tap in with your soul is able to tap into other souls. And I feel like as a collective, we've been healing the witch wound because now more than ever, it's like people are starting to be more heart-led, more soul-led in their lives because they're realizing that nothing outside of them gives them the joy, gives them the love or abundance that they're actually seeking. It's not everlasting. And I wanted to share this last round of healing. I'm always clearing myself and clearing for the ancestors as well. I guess this is in my lineage. There's more Native American on my dad's side, well, and on my mom's side, but there was this like witch wound lineage. and I wanted to go into this part because the language seems, I don't know, we need new words for these things because it sounds so like witch. Like, can we just, like, spiritual person, can we come up with something? We need new, like, wordsmiths out there to, like, create new words for this stuff because it's like, it just sounds so archaic, right? Um, but when energy, speaking of energy, is, let's just take, okay, like oppression. That can mean oppression of women, oppression of witches, particularly. Whenever you're forced to hide your being, basically your innate nature, um, if you're oppressed, like you're told you can't speak, you can't practice, you can't believe this, you can't do this, you can't do that. Oppression, let's just take that. Because that's part of the witch wound and why it's so big. It's several different things. Um, this one was, well, okay. So it can become an entity. It can be, you can call it the non beneficial spirit of oppression. Because when you have that energy and that much energy built up over time, that gets passed down through generation, through generation, through generation, through generation, through generation, like all the way back, it becomes this massive amount of energy. And some people can call it a non beneficial spirit, a non beneficial entity. You can even call it a demon. Um, I actually had a visual with this one. It was like sad, but it was definitely a demon. And it was just, um, it needed to go, right? And I was clearing it for myself and anyone that I shared DNA with, um, in my family and my lineages. And really, you can clear it for others as well off the planet if you wish. But going back to the energy thing, when we don't heal this, like if something doesn't get expressed or it doesn't get released, it just gets pushed down and pushed down. And it's like continuing to sweep something under the rug. Pretty soon you have a big pile and the rug's like popping out. It's like, it becomes this, it takes on an energy of its own. And that's just what we mean a lot of times when we're saying demon. And a lot of times these things will attach themselves to specific people, to specific types of light, to specific types of dark, whatever it's attracted to, um, and where it can survive, you know. But once it's released and transmuted, like, I can't tell you so using the example, that was just oppression, but the witch wound was very different because it's a lot of different things. I mean, it was injustice, it was depression, it was oppression, repression, um, being silenced, just patriarchy. It had so much negative, non-beneficial energy in it that it was a lot. And so I think it was actually happy to go and move on. Because, right, just like us, we move on after this existence onto the next thing, right? So it felt really good to get rid of. But it feels really good to heal that and to acknowledge those wounds and to release them and ask light, pure love, and divine light for the highest good to fill in the spaces for the highest good. Okay, sorry if anyone else needs it. When I start talking about these things, I kind of start calling in my ancestors, my guides, and things like that. They automatically come, so they're present, they're here. Um, I guess that would be another thing we can talk of when everyone has spirit guides. everyone has guides in the spirit realm that when they incarnate, they agree to help you along your human existence. And so sometimes, if you, people are like, talking about ghosts, especially around Halloween. What I would consider a ghost would be very different than a spirit guide, even though they look a lot the same if you can see them. It's a very different energy signature. Um, One is, evolved there for a purpose and guiding you. It's usually a higher light. And then another one is kind of a leftover energy, if you will. They're more of a lost soul. Now, we use the term lost souls in dowsing, and in my practice, I do say lost souls. It's just an easy way for when I'm clearing someone. Basically, souls that it doesn't really sound nice, like you're a lost soul, but that can happen. Someone either isn't ready to transition, or they transition and they just like your light. They don't go into the white light spiritual realm. They kind of they stay in the doorway, if you want to say that. There is a process in the afterlife, and sometimes people just hang out in the in between. Makes sense. But yeah, lost souls, they just haven't gone, they just haven't transitioned completely. And they'll hang out for whatever reasons sometimes. So I don't want to say all ghosts are lost souls, but a lot of the times that they are. And this is coming to mind. My oldest son in a past life haunted me. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, it's like he was mad for whatever reason, either what happened to us or that he was dead or what have you. And he literally haunted me almost one of my whole lives. Um, so it's not necessarily like what we think they are. There's no reason to be afraid of them. They might move stuff around, flicker lights, shut doors, but as far as I know, no one's ever been physically harmed by a lost soul. So they can't affect your energy. I will say that. In a non-beneficial way, but they can't. That again, it's only if you let them. But they, a lot of times, here, I'll just give you some language. If you think you have a lost soul hanging out, just be like, "Hey, spirit guides for the highest good, please clear any lost souls that are in around me and help them over to the white light spiritual realm. For anyone they know over in the white light spiritual realm, greet them, help them transition. Thank you for the highest good." Um, but yeah, sometimes like there can be like energies that build up even on that side, which become really weird. I'm not gonna say that there isn't like, you know, ghouls or not gargoyles, like minions or non-beneficial darker things that do things for the dark. Those things are real, they do exist, but again, I would put it in the category with the black magic and say it can only affect you if you let it. So I think it's always good to have someone, whether it's a friend, a partner, whatever, to keep you center, right? Like have a mentor, whoever you need to kind of keep you in check. And it's like, okay, if you're starting to sound a little crazy town, or I think something's up, or you need an energy clearing, which everybody does. This is why I love having a dowsing partner, because we clear each other all the time. We're not even aware a lot of times of our own stuff that we collect just by walking down the street. Okay, so I, for one, love spooky season, but I am glad it only comes in once a year. It's a little too much weird energy for me. But remember, we can't always just focus on the light. There's always the flip side. Um, and of course, you want to stay in the light. But it's good to know what the opposite entails. So I hope this was helpful or entertaining in some sort of way. And I just want to say, have a great rest of your October. Stay safe, friends.